around 5 examples. First was a Ramdas Vipra from near Kurmakshetra place where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hugged him despite of being afflicted, Ramdas Vipra afflicted by leprosy. Next was Govind, a very close associate in Gambhira, Jagannath Puri, where Govind is crossing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body for service purpose, but for his own purpose, he was just waiting for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to get awake. So he did not cross Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the third example we saw was, yes, Mrugari the hunter, where Mrugari, who was such a cruel person that he was killing half dead animals, and then how he was enjoying that, seeing the animals going through the pains. And at that time, Narad Muni met him, and then next he advised him through his break his bow and arrow. And then later he became a wonderful devotee, and he was not even crossing the or stepping on ant. So that shows the third example. Next was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a young scholar when he was in Gaya, and how he respected his spiritual master Ishwara Puri. And the last example that we are seeing, we heard that about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu respecting his mother Sachi Devi. She suggested Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu not to go to after sannyas to Vrindavan but stay in Jagannath Puri. So we'll continue from there.
In this world, now you've taken sannyas.
Is it audible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Please go to Puri. And crying. And so he obliged, respecting his mother. Later, when he's living in Puri, there was a king of the whole area, the whole district, not just the holy place of Jagannath Puri, but the now Orissa. It was actually expanded Orissa during that particular time. The boundary was much greater. King Prataparudra was the name, and the king came to know that in his kingdom, living in Jagannath Puri, was this holiest of holy men named Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he wanted to meet with him. Mahaprabhu refused. I don't meet with worldly people. So the answer was no, and they tried this and tried that, and the answer was no. So then a suggestion was made, how about this? You meet with his son. The king has a son, a prince. So this is okay, I'll meet with his son. So this is a painting illustrating this wonderful event where Mahaprabhu is meeting with the son of the king, and there he is embracing the son of the king. And by embracing the son of the king felt ecstatic. And then when his father embraced him, he felt ecstatic because he embraced one who had been embraced by Lord Chaitanya. It was very clever. And then later, this is another painting where Lord Chaitanya greets the king. And it was a trick. The trick was, every year at Ratha Yatra, Lord Chaitanya would go along the whole distance of Grand Road, dancing in ecstasy to the end of the procession, and where the deity was placed in a nice place for a week's time, and then the deity would be again put on the cart and taken back to the temple. It was like an annual festival, Ratha Yatra, with hundreds of thousands of people. Then he would chant and dance in ecstasy, and halfway along the way, there's a garden, Jagannath Ballabh Garden. Some of you may know the place in Jagannath Puri. And Lord Chaitanya would take rest. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was the chief priest of the king, gave him the following advice. Halfway through the parade or the procession, Lord Chaitanya will take rest in this garden, Jagannath Ballabh Garden. And I'll train you how to recite slokas while he's resting. And you would just recite those slokas from the Bhagavatam. And in his half awake, half asleep state, hearing those verses recited, he'll become ecstatic and he'll receive you. So that's what happened. He was resting. The king, not dressed in a king's attire, but dressed in regular, conventional Vaishnava attire, came before Lord Chaitanya, paid his obeisances many times, and began reciting slokas from the Bhagavatam. And as he heard the slokas, in an ecstatic mood, "Oh, you're so merciful, whoever you are," and he embraced him. It was a trick in order to have Lord Chaitanya embrace the king who he would not embrace otherwise. Respecting Raja Maryada. We also heard, part 1, respect goes to those who are very learned or well educated, especially amongst the Brahmanas. So this is an illustration of one Brahmana from Kashmir. He had a name, Keshava Kashmiri. And it was kind of a sport amongst very learned people. They would go from this holy place to that holy place, to seat of higher learning, this university, that place, and they'd find who is the most learned person. They'd challenge them in a debate. You know, today it's like sports or something else. One sports person challenges another sports person for wrestling or, something, some contest. So the contest in this case was erudition. So Keshava Kashmiri had a reputation. He had a whole entourage that would travel with him. And he knew that one seat of high learning in India at the time was in Navadvip. Many, many, many very learned Brahmanas. So he made a visit to Navadvip with his entourage. And he was asking around, who's the smartest, most learned person in the whole of Navadvip? I want to debate them. And he was told, there's this young fellow. He's a school teacher. He teaches grammar, but he's a very learned person. That's the person you should find and debate with him. So walking along the Ganges, Keshava Kashmiri saw a group of boys, students of Nimai Pandit, seated around their teacher underneath a tree, and he came strolling over. And immediately, knowing who it was, Keshava Kashmiri, Lord Chaitanya didn't pretend to be respectful, but he was very respectful. He made an arrangement for a special seat for him, and he then praised the learned characteristic of Keshava Kashmiri and said, I've heard that you're an excellent poet. Could you compose some poetry in glorification of Ganges? They're right by the side of the Ganges. Oh, yes. I can recite some poetry. And he then spontaneously composed 100 verses in perfect Sanskrit, glorifying Ganges, not repeating himself with anything. And everyone was like, wow, he's a learned fellow, because he was showing off his learning. And respectfully, to the erudition of Keshava Kashmiri, he said, Nimai, the teacher, said, very well done, amazing, your skill is incredible. Could you let me know in verse number 64 of the 100, what are the qualities and the faults? And Keshava Kashmiri said, well, I was just composing some verses. I don't remember what verse number 64 is. And then Nimai said, oh, I remember, and recited verse number 64. And then repeated the question, could you tell me the qualities and faults in verse number 64? And Keshava Kashmiri said, how did you remember verse number 64? Nimai said, some people are expert at composing Sanskrit poetry. Some persons are good at memory. Could you tell me the qualities and the faults in verse number 64? You know, respectful. And Keshava Kashmiri said, there was no faults, no doshas. Everything was alankara. Everything was of good quality. And Nimai then said, if you'd like, I can point out some of the discrepancies in verse number 64. Go right ahead. I heard you're a learned teacher. Go ahead. So he pointed him out and pointed him out and pointed them out. And Nimai Pandit's student started to giggle. Like he just showed this puffed up, proud Keshava Kashmiri that he really didn't know his stuff. But he was proud. They were giggling. And then Nimai said, don't laugh. He's to be respected. And meanwhile, the learned Keshava Kashmiri was totally embarrassed. Little kid just defeated me. And, you know, the rule in the sport of debate is the one that would win, the persons who were losers, they would become his student, and all the followers of the one who was the loser would become his followers. He would gather followers. So technically, he was defeated. That means Keshava Kashmiri should become the student of this teenager. And all of his followers become the student of the teenager. That was the rule. That was the name of the game. But Lord Chaitanya didn't rub his nose in the being defeated. He said this exchange was so nice. Please come back tomorrow. We can have further exchange. I enjoyed your company so much. So the Keshava Kashmiri is a detail. Keshava Kashmiri was a worshipper of the goddess Saraswati. And it was because of this benediction given to the goddess by the goddess Saraswati that he could speak so eloquently and defeat anybody on anything. So he then went into deep meditation and prayed to goddess Saraswati, what happened? You promised me that I would never be defeated. But you weren't there, so what happened? So in his meditation, Saraswati informed him, the exception is, there's one who is my master, and the person who you were speaking to, that's my master. He's the personality of Godhead, and my ability to make your tongue speak eloquently comes from him. So I can't defeat him. I can't help you defeat him. Therefore, I was absent. Then next day they met. The Keshava Kashmiri fell at his feet, begged forgiveness for his being proud and audacious and insulting, because he understood. Erudition doesn't give access to understanding the Supreme, or the source of everything. It can block, potentially can block one's understanding of the Supreme. Yet at the same time, all throughout this whole pastime, the word that's used in the verse in Sant Chaitanya Charitamrita is adara. or with adoration. Mahaprabhu continued to show respect or adoration to the quality of education of Keshava Kashmiri, or to the position of ashram. Here's a nice painting showing the sannyasi who later became his guru, named Ishwar Puri, one time traveling to holy places and places of high learning. He came to Navadvip. Nimai offered his respect to the feet of Ishwar Puri. Simply, I mean, of course, there's the Leela involved, but simply out of respect because he's a sannyasi. And this Nimai is a young fellow. So you offer respect because he's a sannyasi. And then later, he became his guru. So even more respect. There's a nice pastime in Puri where there was a disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was a sannyasi. His name was Chota Haridas. Chota was a nickname because he was Junior Haridas. And compared to another Haridas that resided in Puri, and his name was Bada Haridas. Senior, Bada Haridas. So Chota Haridas had some very nice qualifications along with being a sannyasi. He was very expert singer. That when he would sing, everyone would listen because he was mystical singer. And Mahaprabhu liked his singing and praised his singing. But one fine day, in order to make nice meal for Lord Chaitanya for his lunch, Bhagavan Acharya sent Haridas, Chota Haridas, to the home of Madhavi to gather some alms to make the cooking that he was, Bhagavan Acharya, was going to personally cook for Lord Chaitanya. And as he was eating the prasad that was offered to Lord Jagannath, he asked, where these ingredients come from? And Bhagavan Acharya said, oh, Chota Haridas, he went to the home of Madhavi Devi, and she gave this nice, very nice rice and other ingredients. And it doesn't say exactly what the exchange was between the sannyasi, Chota Haridas, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the lady, Madhavi. But he said, speaking in privacy and dilly-dallying with ladies is not the behavior of a sannyasi. Inform that fallen sannyasi, I don't want to see him ever again. If I were to die, seeing his face, my destination would be wrecked. So it was passed on to Haridas. And he felt really badly. What to do. Different persons tried to appeal to Lord Chaitanya, please be lenient. It wasn't really all that bad. He just was gathering alms, etc., etc. And he said, stop harassing me. If you continue this, I'm leaving Puri. So they stopped. And seeing the roadblock in his path, and he was so attached to Lord Chaitanya, he went to the confluence of sacred rivers and drowned himself in the sacred rivers. And the message came back to Lord Chaitanya, very good. For one who is an offender like this is appropriate. But what the painting shows is, in the evening hours, Mahaprabhu would sometimes go by the sea, and there's the painting of the angel-looking Chota Haridas in his subsequent situation, and he would sing very, very beautifully for the pleasure of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya would enjoy hearing his singing songs and glorification of Krishna. So this is an example of respect. He respected the ashram of sannyas so much that when there's deviation, it was strong resistance to that deviation.
Hare Krishna. We'll pause here. Any comment, realization, point that you liked?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Mataji.
Prabhuji, I really didn't understand the punishment of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Chota Haridas. Because I can't say the source, but I have heard that in the Kali Yuga, the offenses which are done only at the mental level are not actually being considered, because the Kali Yuga people actually are not good to maintain themselves in a very high standard. But then still he was punished so much. I didn't understand that very clearly.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Any devotees would like to answer Mataji's question? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Anyone would like to answer Mataji's question that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu punishing to Chota Haridas, though it appears that it was his mental, Mataji is saying that it is a mental offense, and in Kali Yuga,
That's what I understood, Prabhu.
yeah, in Kali Yuga, it is not, if you do something mental offense, it is not considered as an offense. So his punishment to Chota Haridas seems to be inappropriate, or in proportion to his offense, what he has done. Not inappropriate, but is not proportion. It is a disproportion to what the offense that he had done.
Mataji, it's he's as the narration which Maharaj said now, it was that Chota Haridas spent a little bit more time than what is required to just collect alms. So, so a sannyasi, like what the Maharaj, what the word he used, dilly-dallying with ladies is not appropriate for a sannyasi. That's the thing. It was not mental, it was physical.
Okay, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you. Understand. I mean, it's still, if we see the world around us, it looks a very high punishment. But yes, I
Yes,
understand.
yes. I mean, you're in that sense, you are absolutely right. But this is an example of the very, very high standards of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because on one hand, he was propagating that the highest truth is the love of the gopis towards Radha and Krishna. But he also wanted everybody to know that it has got nothing to do with this mundane attraction between man and woman. So in that sense, he was very strict, Mataji.
Okay, yes, I think I understand the position of probably Mahaprabhu. He would have been in the social position. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Shamkun. I think that was a wonderful point that how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu giving the highest things and but not even compromising anything. And in Kali Yuga, Kumarika Mataji, it is you or Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
I also want to point out that it depends on the ashrama, because he was ready to forgive Jagai and Madai, who had done every sin on the earth that can be described. So it is not that Mahaprabhu was not merciful. He was the mercy personified avatar. But for sannyasi especially, he wanted to make an example of Chota Haridas to proclaim to the world that sannyasis should not have low standards. They should have very high standards. That is what I wanted to say.
Yes, Mother, thank you. So, Namo Mahamadanyaya Krishna Prem. He is the most munificent and just to set a standard in this age of Kali, especially for the sannyas things. And that is why Mahaprabhu has demonstrated that. And association with the woman, in fact, also he had his associate, Kala Krishna Das, who was with him along with the South India Yatra. And he was allured by Bhatta Haris, and there also Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has renounced. I mean, he once he came back to Jagannath Puri, he did not allow Kala Krishna Das to be in his association. Of course, devotees were very merciful, and they sent him to Bengal to give the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu South India Yatra to Mother Sachi and all other devotees there. So yes, demonstrating the very high standard. Anybody else? Yes, Harisham Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Just want to share one like incident which happened some years back when Sonas Rompa Swami Maharaj was taking treatment in Coimbatore. So I had opportunity to serve him along with Jagannatha Prabhu. And this is the time like there's a transition between the previous devotee who was serving there, and then I came over there, and Jagannatha Prabhu joined one day later. So during that time, like Shatrupa Mataji, who is like preparing Maharaj, like even during that time, like Shatrupa Mataji was helping Maharaj with his seminar preparation, PowerPoints, and all those things. So one day, like as I was cleaning the room, like Shatrupa Mataji came in there, and she was discussing about one of the, like, this is the anatomy of anarthas, that series of presentation. She was discussing something, and then like I was done and I was about to leave, and still Maharaj was speaking to Shatrupa Mataji. He actually told me to wait there, okay, till she finishes the conversation, and then like so that both of us then can go out. So he like just following like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood. So as a sannyasi, this is something which Prabhupada taught all his sannyasi disciples. Similarly, like don't meet with women like in private, even if she is your disciple. Like Maharaj like kind of exhibited, because there are other people also around, and it will not look good that Maharaj talks to a lady in the sense of body of a woman, soul in a body of a woman, like in private. So he asked me to wait till the conversation is over, and then he asked, okay, but then both of us left that place. So that way, like this mode is pretty much of how to maintain the sanctity of sannyas ashram. He has been well trained, and like this is the training he's passing to others as well, that unnecessarily do not spend time with it could be a very it could be his own disciple. So he still is setting the standard of how to interact with disciples, especially when she's having especially a lady disciple. So it's just something which I remembered.
Thank you, Prabhu. It was a wonderful things. And Maharaj always, I have seen that personally, that whenever he talks to ladies, he would make sure that either her father is there or her husband is there. I mean, if he's young, unmarried, father, and if he's married, then husband. So it's a wonderful example. Thank you, Prabhu. Is it Dhirlali, Prabhu?
Prabhu,
Your voice is very feeble.
What? Okay. How about now, Prabhu?
Much better.
Better? Okay. What is the etiquette which the sannyasis are supposed to follow with respect to their own family members? Like, suppose they had daughter before, or mother, father, like, can they, like, hug the children the way they used to do before, or mother, can they again go respectfully sit with mother or father and have nice parent-child exchanges? What is the etiquette that is supposed to follow? Because I see on sometimes on YouTube, one person, not from our
Gaudiya Sampradaya, but then I think he's sannyasi, I'm not sure fully, but then he'll go and hug his daughter and all those things. So just wanted to have some clarification on this point. Hare Krishna.
Quick thing, Prabhu. It when it is for a sannyasi, in general, for his past family members, they can talk, but it is not like hugging, etc. That's not the appropriate one. But a sannyasi can, I mean, like everybody should pay their obeisance or should namaskar to a sannyasi. But a sannyasi should pay obeisance to his mother. Even after he enters the sannyas ashram, he should pay obeisance to his mother. So our scriptures give a very high position to that of a mother. That's
Thank you, Prabhu.
So Shamkun Prabhu, so he does not maintain a relationship with his previous ashramas, like as a grahastha, his mother, sorry, his wife and children, and not hugging, right?
yes.
Okay, so I think that. Thank you, Prabhu. Personally, I was seeing the other important point. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so sensitive with the Keshav Kashmiri, and of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not like devotees having the pride, and he wanted to remove the cause of that pride, and he says that the person who is with the good qualities, they actually bow down with the humility, just like the tree which has the fruits, they bend down with the bow down with the humility. But Keshav Kashmiri, Digvijay, so that was the cause of that. And in Chaitanya Bhagavat, it is mentioned that he, if I have to defeat him in assembly, it will be equal for death to him. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to defeat him in a private place so that his pride will be destroyed, but he won't be hurt. Such a wonderful sensitivity Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has demonstrated there. So that was the point that I liked from that particular incidence of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with the Keshav Kashmiri. 7:03, 3 minutes past 7 o'clock. Shamkun Prabhu, you would like to have the previous questions, or we'll discuss tomorrow?
Tomorrow's fine.
Sorry, Prabhu?
We can do tomorrow. It's
Okay.
7.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna devotees, will continue the next pastimes from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's showing the respect for different ashramas and different exhibiting that following of Maryadas. So we will hear from His Holiness Rampa Swami Maharaj tomorrow. Thank you very much. His Holiness Rampa Swami Maharaj ki jai, His Divine Grace, His Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.